Hi, friend. Welcome to Holly's Highlights, a podcast designed to encourage, inspire, and equip you to intentionally live your life full of purpose. I'm your host, Holly Kirby, motivational speaker, leadership cultivator, marketing strategist, and personal cheerleader. Let's check out today's highlight. If today's episode resonates with you, if you've ever looked at your past and wondered whether it disqualifies you from a better future, Facelift, Embracing Your Hope Through Your Heartaches was written just for you. This isn't a story about quick fixes or pretending the pain didn't happen. It's about facing the heartbreaks that shaped you, taking responsibility for your healing, and discovering that hope doesn't come after the hard parts. It's forged through them. Much like the journey we'll talk about here with the Other Side Academy, a real transformation starts when you stop running from your story and start learning from it. Facelift is an invitation to look inward, do the honest work, and realize that your past doesn't have to be the end of your story. It can be the foundation for a completely new one. Facelift, Embracing Hope Through Your Heartaches is available through your local bookstores, on Amazon and Barnes & Noble. During this month, February 2026, all proceeds will benefit the Huntsman Cancer Foundation with a matching gift from the author donated to the Other Side Academy. Thank you for helping share the love. February is often known as the month of love, but not just the romantic kind. It's also a month that invites us to think about commitment, perseverance, and what it means to truly show up for one another, even when it's hard. And that's what makes today's conversation so fitting. In Salt Lake City, there's a place called the Other Side Academy, a long-term residential program for men and women overcoming substance abuse, criminal behavior, and homelessness. But this isn't a typical rehab or treatment center. There are no therapists, no medications, and no short-term fixes. Instead, the Other Side Academy is built on a radical kind of love, one that looks like personal accountability instead of excuses, one that is peer-driven structure instead of chaos, and long-term commitment and hard work instead of quick fixes. With the belief that people can change when given responsibility, dignity, and even the time to do so. This isn't a program measured in weeks or months. It's measured in years of choosing change, of learning how to rebuild trust, restore dignity, and become someone new, one day at a time. So in a month that celebrates hearts and relationships and second chances, we're sitting down with Clay Josewski from the Other Side Academy to talk about what real transformation looks like when people are loved enough to be held accountable, and why second chances aren't just possible, they're powerful. One of those transformation stories is actually Clay himself. In high school, Clay was popular, got good grades, played sports, all of that. But what started as just experimenting with drugs and alcohol quickly got out of control. And by the time he was in college, he was a full-blown cocaine addict. He managed to still get a degree, but the consequences of his using began to catch up with him throughout the years. And in 2009, he got 2 DUIs in the space of just 1 month. He also found 2 of his friends dead from heroin overdose. For the next 10 years, Clay was in a downward spiral of addiction and criminal activity. And it came to a point when he was facing multiple criminal charges in a small town. That's when he decided he needed to make a change. In lieu of going to prison, Clay was given the opportunity to come to the Other Side Academy. His initial commitment was just for a 2-year stay, but he ended up staying for 4.5 years. Now, during this time, he developed emotional maturity, self-worth, and accountability. He formed meaningful relationships, and he desired to give back. And now he's a full-time staff member, helping others achieve the transformation that he did. Clay has been clean for 8 years and is often quoted for saying that saving lives is the new drug. So whether February is a month of joy, struggle, or even reflection for you, this conversation is about hope and about what's possible when people are given the opportunity, the structure, and the belief to cross over to the other side of their story. Welcome, Clay.
Thank you, Holly. So nice to be here. You did a very great job with that intro.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. The pleasure is all mine to have you here. Thank you so much for your time. Now, just to start us off, for listeners who may not be familiar with the Other Side Academy, how do you explain what it is and what makes it different from the traditional recovery programs?
Yeah, so the Other Side Academy is a 2.5-year minimum commitment. It's a life skills and vocational training school that helps men and women who have struggled with addiction, incarceration, homelessness, or all of the above. Our average student's been arrested 27 times. The aggregate total is 7 felonies, 5 misdemeanors. For me, it was much more than that, not trying to brag here, because that's the last thing I want to do. But, the Other Side Academy and why we're so successful is that the students get the opportunity to stay in the mode of practice until they feel ready. Traditional treatment programs, you have to leave on day 30, day 60, day 90, or when the money runs out, right? The beautiful part about the Other Side Academy is you stay until you feel like you're ready to go back out there and tackle life. So yes, I made a 2 year commitment in the beginning, but I started to fall in love with the process. I started to fall in love with who I was becoming. And so I stayed an extra year, and then I got addicted to change, and I stayed an extra year after that. And so I ended up staying 4.5 years before I was hired on as a full-time staff member. Single-handedly, the greatest decision I've ever made was coming to the Other Side Academy. And what makes us so successful is students work while they're here at the program to be able to dig themselves out of kind of the hole that they created, right? It's not up to mommy and daddy. It's not up to Medicaid. It's not up to insurance to dictate your change. You're responsible from day one at your recovery at becoming the best person possible. So we operate some social enterprises inside of the Other Side Academy that are super successful. We have the #1 rated moving company in the state of Utah. We have 2 thrift boutiques here in Salt Lake City, which are thriving, and we have a construction company, and that's kind of what generates the revenue for our students to be here and to make it free. Now we have other enterprises that students work in here at the Other Side Academy that's not revenue based. So we have a culinary department. One of the departments that I oversee is corporate development. So they're reaching out for in-kind donations to help mitigate some of the overhead costs. Since we are a nonprofit, we are a profitable nonprofit, which is pretty rare for somebody to say in this day and age, right? So, students are learning, they're working, and that's what makes us so successful is they're learning life skills and we're attacking behaviors. I think something that's important now, we'll probably touch on this too, is that when students get here, we're not talking about our past. We're not talking about where we're from, what we did, how we did it, who we did it with, right? We're not glorifying any of the old lifestyle. We're very future driven. And so you can't build a healthy future if you're constantly living in the past. So we don't talk about any of that stuff. And it's really cool because you have big time dope dealers, gun runners, gang members mixed in with Walmart thieves, gutter junkies and people that have never even been arrested. And it puts everybody kind of on an even playing field, right? And so it allows them the opportunity to really stay future driven, like I was talking about. So I love this place. I could talk for days about it. And so I'm going to shut up and let you keep asking questions, but
No,
I
I
just
love it.
love this place.
I love it.
So
Well, and you mentioned the thrift store, and recently that got my attention of all of that, especially because recently I was driving down State Street and recognized the thrift store that I had seen pictures of. And so I had to, of course, divert and go in, and they were so pleasant and great customer service. I was really impressed. So your organizations that you venture out through definitely represent Oversight Academy very, very well. Now, you mentioned a couple of things. One, that there's the 2 to 3 year commitment. Yours was longer by choice. Why
yeah.
is long-term immersion so important for that real change?
Well, I think everybody's change journey is different, right? For a guy like me, I had 17 years of chaos, criminality, and destructive behavior, right? Started when I was 14, and it started with behaviors early on, right? But to think that everybody's change journey is going to be ready on day 30, day 60, or day 90, or even 6 months is asinine, right? If it took me 17 years to get to where I was at and it took somebody else 3 years, then everybody's change journey is going to be different. We got guys that are 67 years old inside of our program today, right? The average age is 18 to healthy. And so to take an 18-year-old who only has maybe a year of practicing bad behaviors, and then you take a guy who's 67 who probably has 40 or 50 years, then their change journey is completely different, right? And so it's important for us to be able to address that on a need basis, on what they need, and to be able to talk to them about, okay, what is it that they're working through, and the beautiful part about what we're doing here is that this is a 2.5 year minimum, but you can stay until you feel ready to go out there and practice life on life's terms.
Now, it's also known for being peer-led. Is that correct? So residents hold each other accountable. What does that look
Yeah.
like?
Yeah, so we don't have any doctors or therapists. You nailed it in the opening statement. And I think that makes it so profound is that everybody has that relatability piece, right? Out of all the treatment programs that I've been to before coming to the Other Side Academy, and I'm not knocking anybody who's in in the recovery world, but the problem is we have people that go to school for 7 or 8 years and they hang a degree up on their wall and they think that they can address somebody like me when they've never really been or walked a day in my shoes, right? And so the relatability piece is absolutely imperative here at the Other Side Academy. Somebody really is going to listen more so to somebody who's walked those shoes before or walked that path before you, right? And so that's what kind of is the Other Side Academy is it's just ex drug addicts and ex criminals and things like that that are just farther removed, helping the younger guys through it.
Yeah. Now, it sounds intense. How would you describe residents kind of reacting when they first arrive?
Yeah, so the Other Side Academy is life skills on on steroids, right? It's a life skills boot camp on steroids. So, when students get here, it can seem really overwhelming because we kind of just throw them into the deep end of the pool of radical accountability, right? And so as they're working throughout the workday, we're going to address behaviors that have dragged them down their whole life. We believe that behaviors are the issue. It's not drugs, it's not any of that. We believe that the behaviors are what is dragging people down. And so we attack those behaviors. So throughout the workday, you're going to show behaviors that have dragged you down your whole life, whether you're a liar, a cheater, a thief, a manipulator, you're violent emotionally, you're violent physically, which we don't allow here at the Other Side Academy. We'll get into that. But we're going to address those. So if me and you are working on a daily basis, Holly, and you have a really crappy attitude, I say, hey, Holly, you got to have a better attitude, right? And all you can say is, okay. And then on Tuesdays and Fridays, we get in a group of about 20 to 25 people and we address those behaviors and we do it in a very colorful way. We're not going to sugarcoat anything. We're very truthful. We're very upfront because we believe that if we continue to baby people, we're going to bury people in this country, right? And so we believe that telling people the truth is the only way to be able to help people. And so it could get really colorful. I could say, hey, Holly, you're a freaking poke in the eye. It sucks to work with you on a daily basis. We all have stuff going on in the real world. I need you to really suck it up, right? And I'm trying to be PG here for the
Right.
podcast, but that's what it could look like. There
Yeah.
might be a few F bombs in there. There might be a few colorful language, but that's what works. And it's not like I'm telling you anything that's like not true. Everything that I would tell you is everything that's true. And we attack the behaviors. We don't attack the person. We don't attack things that they can't change, right? We're attacking the behaviors. And that's why it works. And the quicker that people can embrace humility at the Other Side Academy, the faster they're going to change. The speed of which that we change is determined by the amount of feedback we're willing to listen to at any given moment, right?
Yeah.
So,
I love the transparency in that. Often when people say like, what would you have as your superhero power? And for me, it's always been, well, I wish I could read other people's minds. And it's for that, the transparency. I don't want things sugarcoated. I want you to tell me how it is. So there's a lot of value in that.
yeah.
Now, throughout just day to day, what does a life typically look like for a resident?
Yeah, the best way to describe it, Holly, is that we're a micro community preparing people for the macro community, right?
Mm.
And so every day we wake up, we make our bed, we brush our teeth, we put our pants on the same way that everybody does in the United States of America that's going out and working, right? And we come down on the floor and we'll do a little like morning meeting. So we'll do a word of the day to kind of help people extend their vocabulary and maybe try to implement some type of different word inside of their vocabulary. We do a little skit to kind of make things motivational so that they can start to laugh and get the day started on the right foot, right? And then from there we start the workday at 8 a.m. We work and while you're a freshman, it's set up kind of like a high school or a college. So we have freshman, sophomore, junior, senior. And so while you're a freshman, you're just going to be kind of doing menial stuff around the house, maybe doing laundry, doing dishes, working, doing chores, that type of stuff. But you're learning how to work well with different personalities. So the opposite of addiction is connection. And here at the Other Side Academy, we believe strongly in connection. And so every day we're doing the same thing that you guys are doing, just on a smaller level with responsibilities in between. So you can learn how to manage those responsibilities. So when you get out there and you have things piling up out there in the real world, you don't get overwhelmed and you can be able to handle that. And you have the emotional maturity to be able to handle those things. So to tell you the truth, everything that we do here on a daily basis is everything that everybody else does. And then at night, there's different things and activities that we do. So Monday, we have a family night activity. Tuesdays are groups that I was talking to you about. Wednesday, we'll have an influential person from the community come in and do a TOSA talk, which I'll probably ask you to come and do that here soon. So be ready. And then on Thursdays, we watch a TED talk and learn how to talk in front of small and large crowds, and we articulate ourselves. And so we'll get up after the TED talk and talk about what we've learned. Fridays, we do groups again. And then on Saturdays is a family function. So we learn how to have fun in a sober environment and practice, connection.
And
And then
people
Sunday,
think,
you have the day off. So,
oh, okay. There we go. I was
so
going to say, and people think my life is busy. That's a lot going on. That's a lot going on.
yeah.
Now, with the residents, you mentioned they run businesses and cook meals and clean and manage operations and real life responsibility with the addiction to connection. But why is work, when we focus on the different businesses that you have, of course, that helps provide some income into the organization. I get that. But why is work such a central part of that recovery process?
Yeah, it's funny. When I go into the prisons and I go into jails and I do presentations and I talk to some of these inmates, I'll say, who in here knows how to work? And all of them will raise their hand, right? And I'll say, what do you do for work? And they'll say, I do automotive. And I said, no, you don't, because if you did, that's where you would be, right? I'm a carpenter. No, you're not, because that if you knew how to be a carpenter, that's where you would be. So they all think they have this idea of they know how to work. But when people get to the Other Side Academy, they have this low self-esteem. They have a very poor work ethic, right? And so we're taking it day by day. And the good thing about the Other Side Academy is not only that it's free, but that it's 2.5 year minimum. So 2 years in-house. And each day you get to wake up and practice having a monster work ethic. Each day you get to wake up and practice having accountability and honesty and all those things. And if you do that for 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, or hundreds, if not thousands of days in a row, you look back and you're like, holy cow, I'm completely different. Oh my gosh, I've just recalibrated my moral compass without even really thinking about how to do it. You just automatically do that, right? And it's so important. We ask these guys when they're the freshmen here, they think it's silly, but when we wrap them up for break at 10 a.m. and 2 p.m., we ask them to stay busy until we tell them that they can sit down. And so that means wiping down where they're at, taking a chair, wiping it down. And why that's important is these guys all have to check a felony box, right? When they get back out there into the workforce, most of them, 90% of them have to check that felony box. And so how are you going to separate yourself from the field of work when you're out there and you're working in a real life work setting and all the other employees are standing around and one of our graduates is out there pushing a broom to stay busy until they say that they can punch out or punch in, right? And that's what's important. That's what sets us apart, is that these guys are going to go back out there in the community and they work for some of these employers that we have. And these employers will reach out to us and they'll say, hey, do you have any more of these Other Side Academy guys? We want more of these guys, because we go out there and we bust our butt every single day and we build monster work ethics.
That's impressive. That's inspiring should be for each and every one of us listening for sure. Now, conflict is inevitable in any community, especially as you shared, you are your own little city, your own little community in such
Mm-hmm.
way. So how does the Other Side Academy teach residents to handle conflict differently than they might have in their past?
Yeah, I mean, so just to give you an idea, we have 4 cardinal rules that'll get you kicked out of the Other Side Academy. One is any threats of violence. So even just saying, if I wasn't here, we'd, so
Mhm.
and so this, right? Acts of violence. We've never had an act of violence in the 10 years we've been open at the Other Side Academy. Taking anything harmful into your body. So that includes, huffing markers, sniffing glue, whatever people are into these days, right? If you do anything that gives you a mind altering effect, we would ask you to leave, or just being a poison to our community. So at the Other Side Academy, we ask you to be honest. We ask you to be accountable. We ask you to tell the truth, right? And if you're somebody who's just kind of a poison and you're poisoning the well, we'll just ask you to leave over the course of time. Now, we've only had that happen 3 or 4 times, but that's how we operate and that's how we run. Conflict is inevitable, right? People have friction no matter what they're doing or where they're at. And I think there's 2 types of drug addicts, right? And there might be 2 types of people in this world that might be listening. And that's people that fight physically when they're faced with an issue with somebody and they try to get aggressive and they try to get violent, or people that tuck tail and run and don't face issues and they sweep things under the carpet and they struggle telling people the truth or telling people how they feel. And in turn, they become passive aggressive and they become somebody who can't really address issues in their life, right? And so here at the Other Side Academy, we're not going to do either of those things. You're not going to be able to cut people out of your life and you're not going to be able to fight here. So you have to learn how to deal with conflict on a regular basis. And that happens in those group settings that I was telling you about. So the way that it works is you pull people up. So if somebody doesn't make their bed properly, if they left toothpaste in the sink, if they left the light on, if they're having a bad attitude, if they're being sneaky, if they're not working hard, right? Say I'm working on the moving company and me and another guy are carrying safes and couches and the other guy's carrying pillows. I'm going to say, hey man, you need to have more pride in your work. Stop being lazy. And that's a pull up. And all he can say is okay. And so on Tuesdays and Fridays, we address those behaviors. And sometimes it gets really colorful. Sometimes it's a place where people can get some steam out of them, right? But all in all, we go in there with the idea of, hey, I'm in here to try to help people.
Yeah.
And if you have that mindset, everything kind of works out the way it's supposed to.
Yeah. Yeah. It makes me think of the whole concept. Is it true? Is it necessary? Is it kind? It is truth that you're speaking. It is necessary for the correction. And although some could debate, is that kind? It is kind to be truthful with them, to hold them accountable. So I
Yeah.
really respect that. Really respect that.
My favorite thing that Dave DeRocher, he's our executive director, that said to me one time, he's like, if you want to help people, tell them the truth. And if you want to help yourself, tell them what they want to hear. And
Mm,
from that point moving
mm,
forward, when I heard that, I was just like, wow, light bulb.
hmm
I'm here to help people. And I'm here to help people not only at the Other Side Academy, but in life. So if you're doing something that's wrong, and if I don't say anything, am I helping you or am I hurting you? I'm
Yeah.
hurting you, right? So for me, I'm here to help. And that's what I do today.
Yeah. Well, and as a leader, as we're trying to grow up into leadership, it is about our growth. But once we become a leader, it is all about pouring into someone else. So I like how you put that because it's not about us and what we want. It's about helping the other person. Absolutely. Now, it sounds like you're not just addressing addiction. You're actually really rebuilding, as you've even shared, you're rebuilding life skills and relationships and an overall identity. So, without sharing anything confidential, can you tell us about maybe a transformation, maybe just a short snippet story that really captures what the Other Side Academy is about?
Yeah, I mean, I think the easiest way for me to sum it up is to give you an idea of who I was, right? And I did that in that story, but I was arrested over 30 times. I tried every other program on the face of the earth. I did drug court, I tried CATS twice, it's a correctional addiction treatment services inside the Salt Lake County Jail. Tried that twice. It's a 90-day program. I did inpatient, I did outpatient, tried everything. I was 29 years old and I just thought maybe I'm just supposed to die a dope fiend. And to give you some polarity into who I was, I got voted most likely to succeed in high school. I got voted loudest personality in high school. And here I am, 29 years old, and I wrote a suicide note ready to, do the unthinkable because I didn't want to live with myself anymore. And the polarity in that just gives you an idea of if I can go from feeling like I didn't want to be on this earth anymore to feeling the most success I've ever felt in my entire life. And not success of like the car I drive and the things that I have, but the success that I feel inside of me and the success I have inside my brain, right? Inside my mind and the relationships that I have with people that actually call me on my stuff and don't let me get away with things and aren't just accomplices. That's huge, right? Another really cool story is that we usually don't take people who have murder charge on the front end. But I got a guy here at the Other Side Academy doing exceptionally well. Just did 24 years in prison. Went in when he was 19 for a gang related crime of murder, did his time. And on the back end, he says, I really want to do something different. Now, think about this. When he went in, it was 2002. The Twin Towers had just got attacked. You think about the cell phone and the technology that we had. It was just like a little Nokia brick phone that we had. Maybe the Razor was just about to come out. And if you fast forward to today's day and age, you have to go to Burger King or McDonald's and order something off of a kiosk. And imagine how challenging that would be for a guy like that. And so he said, you know what? I'm going to go to the Other Side Academy to learn the life skills that are necessary and kind of maybe get out of this way of thinking where I'm institutionalized. And he's doing exceptionally well. I mean, he has challenges and things like that. But even just getting to the Other Side Academy and walking on carpet, he's walked on concrete for the last 24 years. Just so many things we take for granted. And this guy he's doing exceptionally well. And I just can't wait to see where he's at in 2.5 years. I have so many examples of success here. What's really cool is you see a guy like myself or like him who have multiple years in prison, multiple years or incarcerations and things like that. And they get here and they're just a complete knucklehead. And we have to like rope them in and give them feedback and help them through the process. And as we do that and they get to where a spot where they're now giving those guys that come in the same feedback that we gave them early on, it's like the greatest thing in the world. And so when you shared my bio and I said, helping people is like the new drug, it's so addicting. It's so purposeful to see guys that change their life around and are making changes in the community. So,
That's powerful. That's powerful. What do you see change first in people when you mention a change? Is it their behavior, their mindset, or is it more like how you were mentioning when they come in, just that low self-esteem? So kind of more of how they see themselves.
yeah, I think for everybody, it's a little different on each level. So if it's behavior or mindset or themselves, it's a little different. But they all kind of work symbiotically together, right? And so as you start to, get into a process of high accountability here at the Other Side Academy, your mindset starts to change. And in turn, as your mindset starts to change, your behaviors start to change, right? And so everybody's change journey is different. We got guys that come here and they're just here to beat a prison sentence. And eventually we'll weed them out because it's not Burger King and you can't have it your way. So, everybody is a little different. Some people get here and they're at the lowest point in their life where they say, you know what, I'm ready to do something different. And some people come in here with that old ideology that maybe I can do it a little different this time. Maybe I can still hang around in the barber shop, but eventually what they have to realize is that they're still going to get a haircut. And so everybody's change journey is different, but I think that all three of those, behavior, mindset, and how they see themselves, kind of work all symbiotically together.
What's one moment of any of those that you kind of are able to tell that this person is becoming someone new?
Wow. It's a really difficult question to answer. And I think the best way to do it is through maybe some aha moments that I experienced early on. So I got here, like I said, when I was 29 years old. I was a freshman here at the Other Side Academy. So I'd only been here for a couple of months. And we just had groups. And after groups, they would have like snacks they would put out after groups. So it's 9:30 at night. And I'm sitting there. I just got the group for something. And I'm just sitting there and I'm thinking, my birthday's in a couple of days. And I talked about how in high school, I was successful and played sports and I did all of that, but I was very duplicitous growing up. So I was two-faced around everybody. And here I am, 29 years old, and most people that are my age have started to build a career. They have families. They've gone to college, and I went to college too, but that's neither here nor there. And I think one of the first aha moments that I had was, man, I really got to do something different because nobody wants me around. I burned every single bridge. I was the type of guy that if your stuff wasn't bolted down or locked up, I was stealing it. And I just became a nuisance and a monster to the community. And until I could sit there and really resonate with that and figure out I am responsible to dig myself out of this problem that I created, it's every student has different aha moments. And it's crazy. So paradigm shifts or aha moments are absolutely imperative. But that's one that sticks out for me is, being almost 30 years old and not having anything to show for myself and saying, you know what, it's time to do something different.
That's fair. That's fair. And the different backgrounds that we all have and perspectives, things are going to hit a little differently for sure. Now, this model isn't for everyone. And as you mentioned, not everyone has made it. So what's the hardest part of the Other Side Academy, both for residents and then of course for staff? It's got to be challenging having those
Yeah.
new freshmen come in and having to, as you said, re-rope them back in. So
Yeah.
what does that look like? What's the hardest part for both of those, both sides?
Yeah, I think as a staff member, so what sets the Other Side Academy apart from traditional programs is that all of our staff members live on site. So we're here 365, rain, shine, sleet, snow, whatever, right? We're here. We've made a commitment, a devotion to say, you know what, we want to spend the rest of our lives doing this. My wife and I both work here, so we both work on site. We're here for every single holiday, and that can be challenging, right? I imagine some guys when they're trying to, maybe find a significant other outside of the Other Side Academy, it's hard sometimes to balance that. It's hard sometimes to balance, work and play and to really still make the Other Side Academy number one and everything else that follows after that. And I think for students, it's that accountability piece. Like I said, when you get here, it's almost like you're thrown into the deep end of the pool. And we're always asking ourselves, what can we do better at achieving some type of attrition to get our attrition under control, right? So we figure that most students leave within the first 2 weeks or in the first 30 days. Half of our students leave within the first 30 days. And so we've gone abroad and we've studied some places in the UK and in England. And we thought to ourselves, okay, these places have a thing called a welcome neighborhood where for the first 6 to 8 weeks, when students get there inside of a therapeutic community, they would be paired with a staff member like myself who would help them with that accountability piece. Okay, dude, you just talked about your past. We're not going to do that. When you get over to the other side academy over across the street, they're going to be pulling you up like crazy for stuff like this. So you have to get it under control. We don't talk about tattoos. You can't talk about tattoos, man. So please, you gotta get this under control now before you get back over there. So it's these light touches, right? Because when you get to the other side academy, it's like boom, 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 boom. You're like, whoa, 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 whoa. And so I think that's the hardest part for students when they get here is that accountability piece because it's so foreign. Everything we ask people to do at the other side academy is completely foreign to what we've been brainwashed into thinking for the last whatever, however long. That's completely different than the way we've lived our lives in the streets and in prisons.
Yeah, that's a lot of dedication on both sides for sure. Now, are there any common misconceptions that you hear that people tend to have about the Other Side Academy and those that you'd like to clear up for us?
Yeah, the thing that really irks me when I hear it is that we're a work camp and we don't pay our students, and I hate that ideology
Right.
because to give you an analogy, my dad bought me a car when I was 16. Bought me a nice car, everything worked, was in great shape. I ran that car into the ground. By the time I was done with it, both doors were bungee corded together. The bumpers were falling off, right? I was missing a windshield wiper on it because I didn't do that myself. I didn't put in the work to be able to get that car myself. So I had no appreciation for it. Here at the Other Side Academy, when our students get here, they're responsible from day one to create the success that they've always wanted. It's not up to Medicaid. It's not up to insurance. It's not up to mommy and daddy. It's not up to the community, not up to the county, the state, the government, nobody. And so for me, when I got to the Other Side Academy and I worked for 2.5 years or 4.5 years, really, to be able to put myself in a position where I was successful, it meant so much more to me than going to a program that was funded by somebody by our tax dollars, right? Because I'm a tax-paying citizen today too. And so I just think that when you work for something, it means more to you, right?
Absolutely.
And the ideology that if we were to give our students money, right? If you give a drug addict money and you pay them, what's going to hold them to be here? If you would have started paying me when I got here at 3 months, I would have left when I got my feelings hurt, or if I got mad or whatever it was, I would have left and I would have had some money in my bank account and I would have probably used that money and went out and died, right? And so to think that we need to give students money is completely crazy. So they work to be able to pay their way through the program. That's what's important. And so I just hate the misconception that some people think that we're a work camp and that we don't pay our students.
Yeah. Thanks for sharing that and clearing that up. How does the Academy measure the overall success, especially when progress isn't always linear, as you've shared?
Yeah, my favorite part of the Other Side Academy is our success rate. So the way that we gauge our success rate here at the Other Side Academy is drug-free, crime-free, and employed. And the way that that works is we've been able to produce hundreds of graduates over the 10 years that we've been open. And the Other Side Academy boasts a 66% success rate of our students living drug-free, crime-free, and employed. Now you juxtapose that against any treatment program in the state of Utah, if not globally. I would challenge anybody to go and do that. They're boasting about a 3 to 5, maybe 4 to 6% success rate. I read a thing a while back where it was a treatment center here in Utah. I'm not going to say the name, but it was a letterhead. And they said, we're so successful because we pushed through 60,000 people through our doors this year. And I said, oh, that's really great, right? How many of those people are reunited with their families? How many of those people are living a full-time job and living in an apartment or a house? How many of them are paying a car payment and have a brand new car? At the Other Side Academy, we keep real life statistics. And so, like I said, you can stay here until you feel ready. So as you stay here and you stay in the mode of practice, the longer you stay, the chance of success goes up even higher. And so when I made my 4th year commitment, they told me that the Other Side Academy has a 92% success rate of students living drug-free, crime-free, and employed. Now, think about what I told you in the beginning. Our average student's been arrested 27 times, 7 felonies, 5 misdemeanors. So you look at those statistics, it's absolutely crazy that we're giving those results and really reducing recidivism as a whole. That's my favorite part about the Other Side Academy is the statistics and the real life transformation.
One thing that really caught me is when you mentioned that they're pushed through versus here at the Other Side Academy, it is a choice. It is completely a choice. And I think in anything that we're battling with, it has to come down to a choice for us to want to whether get mad at it enough, whether it be a temptation, addiction, whatever that is, to choose to step into the other side. And that's a huge difference in what I'm hearing from your organization right there is pushed through versus choosing to step into. Now, for someone listening who may be struggling or knows someone who is struggling, how can they learn more about the Other Side Academy?
So you can go to our website, can do some research. You can follow us on Facebook, Instagram, anything like that. We're on all platforms. And also, if you want to reach out to me personally, my email is clay@theothersideacademy.com. I'd be happy to have a conversation and talk to you about anything that maybe if you're struggling, if you're going through something, or if you wanted to maybe learn more about the program and the process here. I think the pain of staying the same has to be greater than the pain to change, right? And that kind of touches on what you talked about before is like everybody's rock bottom is different, but you have to get to a point where the pain of staying the same is greater than the pain to change. And so if you're in a position like that and you're really, asking yourself, is this what I want to do? I think a big hiccup for some people is that, oh, it's 2.5 years. But if you're anything like me and you got stuck on the carousel of going in and out of jails and institutions and making false promises to your family, I promise things are going to be different. I promise this, I promise that, and nothing changes to any avail, then maybe you should ask yourself, do I want to make a commitment to sacrifice for 2 years so I don't have to stay in this carousel for as long as I've been living? Because eventually you're going to look back 10, 15 years from now and you're going to be to 6 or 7 other programs. You're going to be incarcerated maybe 6 or 7 times. And you're going to say, what if I would have went to the Other Side Academy when I was thinking about going to it? And where would my life be today?
Yeah. Yeah. That first step is a huge one. Now, the Other Side Academy also operates through community. And through that, the community supported businesses and donations. What are the best ways that people can help support this organization?
I think the biggest thing is if you live in the state of Utah, frequent our thrift shops if you can. I think what's really cool about our thrift shops that set us apart from other places is that, or our thrift boutiques, I shouldn't say shop because we have the little bougie boutique add to it, right? Frequent our thrift boutiques. What sets us apart is that we're willing to come and do free local pickups here in Utah. So if you live in the state of Utah, you don't have to lift a finger. We'll come and get those items for you. And if you find something at our thrift shop that you really like and you only drive a Prius or a small compact vehicle, the Other Side Academy will deliver it for you for a small fee. So those are really cool things that set us apart. If you want to use our moving company, that would be really helpful. If you want to use our construction company, if you have maybe a remodel that you're thinking about doing, if you have maybe a big job that you want to do, a concrete job that you need done, please think about hiring our businesses because we are exceptional at our businesses.
Now, before we wrap up, what does the other side mean to you personally?
The Other Side Academy is my family. I think everybody's born into a family, but for me, this is the family that I chose. I found everything that I've ever looked for inside of substances, inside of the lifestyle, inside of, the love and loyalty that I devoted to the wrong things. I came here and I put that same love and loyalty into this place and it paid dividends in return. The lifestyle didn't do that for me. And so, I found success here. I found self-worth. I found purpose. I found honesty. I found accountability. I found a monster work ethic. And today I just love this place with everything in me. It's definitely my passion. I'll be here forever.
You mentioned family. Are you guys able to reconnect then as people graduate the organization? Are you still able to stay connected with them?
At the Other Side Academy, it's for the first 30 days, it's a blackout period. You can't talk to your family, and family contact's going to be very limited while you're here as a student. After 30 days, you can write a letter to the people that raised you, as long as they were good influences and you weren't committing crimes with them and you weren't getting high with them. You can write a letter to them, and then after 90 days, you can make a phone call home once a month, and then at a year, they can come to the Other Side Academy and visit you. At 15 months, you can start to reconnect with outside family, uncles, aunts, brothers, sisters, that type of thing. And at 18 months, you get to go home for a 4 to 5 hour visit. So it's very limited, but it's all by design. If we give you all these distractions early on, then how are you ever going to change? And so it's important to come to the Other Side Academy, not have to worry about anything that's going on out in the real world. You don't have to worry about any of that stuff. All you got to worry about is you every single day and how you can become the best version of yourself.
Yeah. Now, Clay, here on Holly's Highlights, we have a signature question, and that is if you could go back and encourage, inspire, or equip yourself as a child, what would you say?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think for me, I got off track because I wanted to fit in and I craved acceptance so bad. And so if there was anything that I could tell my younger self is carve your own path. Don't be a follower. Don't give in to peer pressure. You have so much potential. And I just wonder where it would be if I would have ever like lived up to it. But then again, I wouldn't be in a position to really feel the purpose that I feel helping people today. So I'm grateful for everything that I went through. But if I was younger, I would have said, be a leader. Don't be a follower. Carve your own path. Don't give in to peer pressure.
Sounds like you're blooming right where you're planted and making a huge impact in a lot of lives for sure. One thing that really stood out to me throughout this entire time with you, Clay, is when you said you can't build a healthy future talking about your past. And it's so true, and focusing on what's ahead of us and not looking back at any regrets or things we missed out on or wish were different, but focusing on the future in front of us and the choices that we can choose to make. That's powerful. Thank you so much for the work you do and for sharing your story and mission with us today. To our listeners, if today's conversation resonated with you, I encourage you to learn more about the Other Side Academy and the lives being rebuilt there every day. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe, leave a review, and share it with someone who believes in second chances. Until next time, keep showing up, keep growing, and keep believing that change is possible. Thank you for joining me on this journey of life. I hope that today's highlight has been encouraging, inspiring, and equipping so you can go out and live your life full of purpose. I'd be honored if you'd take a moment to leave a review, or better yet, subscribe. We can also stay in touch by joining my email list at hollycurby.com. That's HOLLYCURBY.com. Until next time, make it a great day for a great day.